while overall we were growing by 4.4. If you look at just the light rail systems, the 32 different systems in this country on light rail, they grew in that same period by about 11.2%. So not quite 3 times as fast as what I would call just the average of the bus systems and things of that sort around the country. And I think that's reflective of a couple of things. Certainly it's reflective of the fact that there's been a large investment in light rail, so people are still adjusting their habits to it. More and more cities have it. But I think it also says something about the attractiveness of light rail. And when I say the attractiveness, one of the things we find with light rail is that it is across the income spectrum. This is folks who maybe don't have such large incomes to folks who have very large incomes all feel comfortable using light rail and using it together. And I think that's an important aspect of this. I guess it's trite to say this. Things are different today. They're different immediately today. What, $1.1 trillion we lost yesterday? Let's see, that would build 1,100 $1 billion light rail lines in America. We used to think that it was written into our Constitution that gasoline would be essentially free. We've learned a lesson. It's not free. Turning back to the theme of, but what's it mean in the business community, studies are pretty clear that in local business revenue, about a 3-to-1 return. For every dollar that gets spent in this light rail project, the vast majority of the money will get spent back in this community. Because the federal government has what's called a Buy America law that prevents these projects from sending their equipment needs overseas, final assembly has to be here, components have to be here, majority of domestic content in these projects, and because, just like a highway project, it's lots of concrete and steel and stuff like that, you tend to see about a 3-to-1 ratio that gets spent in the local community. By the way, to operate the system, it's actually a little better than that. It's 3.2-to-1, so in an ongoing way. Our friends at the federal government suggest that there's about 35,000 jobs created or sustained for every $1 billion you invest in a project like this. Overall, on average, the studies are about a 6-to-1 return on the economic benefits of a public transit investment. I don't know about you, but I certainly wish that my 401k were returning 6-to-1 right now. That's not quite happening. So as you begin to think about these things, there are just some fundamental economics that make this a good deal. And in terms of real estate value, I already talked to you about some of the returns that Dallas has been able to measure. In those same set of studies, they've shown that the land that is near the DART stations is growing by about 1/3 faster than the value of the land that is not near the DART stations. And for residential properties, even a little bit more, about 50% faster, things like that. So it's a proven winner in every which way. Congestion's an issue almost everywhere. I understand that you've got more freeway lane miles or something per capita than anybody in the universe, but I hear there are still complaints about congestion here. Our friends at Texas A&M Transportation Institute have calculated that the auto user, the person who says, I will never get in that public transit system, you couldn't pay me to get in that system, still benefits by this investment. In fact, they are the second leading beneficiary of these investments, number one being the people who use it, but number two is the auto user. On average across the country, congestion would be about $10.2 billion worse if we didn't have the public transit that we have. We'd be wasting some 340 million more gallons of fuel sitting in traffic. So lots of good reasons to invest in this, but the most important reason is, what do you want Kansas City to be? What do you want it to be in the future? You have an interesting idea here. You've got an interesting opportunity here in that your 14-mile line is basically within the city of Kansas City, as I understand it. It means it can be a spine for development for this community for many years to come. Because of the unique setting of your rail lines, if you can get the cooperation of the freight railroads, it can set you up to help move forward in a regional rail network of some sort. You are giving your citizens choice. you are tending to their future economic needs, you are helping to make this a more livable community, a phrase I haven't yet used this morning, I don't think, because it's hard to define and, again, means different things to different people, but it gives them choice and option and opportunity. For employees, it expands their access to more employers. For employees, it increases their labor shed. There's very little about this that isn't a good thing for the community if it's well planned, if it's well executed, and if it's well used. This is not about what Kansas City looks like today. It's about what you want Kansas City to be tomorrow.